All right, here we go. Thank you all for joining us this morning to learn more about exporting to Venezuela. We are really excited to have two different groups speaking today. I'm going to give a very short presentation on some things that SESTA has coming up, but then we will hear from Jose Gama from the Gama Group. They are a retailer in Venezuela, and we are also going to hear from the FAS offices in Venezuela. So I will go ahead and talk a little bit about some trade shows that we have coming up in the first part of next year. We're already we're in 2023, even though we had a big pavilion at CL Paris this week. I was just speaking with Jose. He was at the show and saw the SESTA pavilion, which was within the big USA area of the trade show. So SESTA hosts pavilions at trade shows like that throughout the year. We have some photos here that you can see. We'll rent anywhere from 5 to 20 booth spaces at a trade show, and then we open it up to our participants who can register, and then you have your own booth at the event. We typically reduce the costs pretty significantly when you come with us, and then we also provide things like translators. If English is not the primary business language, we'll pay for a certain amount of shipping to get your products and materials to the show. And we just, hold everybody's hand kind of as you prepare for the show and make sure your products can get into the country, that your signage and everything looks good. And so, we are there every step of the way, and we have these shows coming up, and I included how many booths we have available still for each of these. IPM Essen is for the horticulture and nursery industry. So anybody on who is looking to export nursery items to Europe, this is a major show. Fruit Logistica, this is all fresh produce, also in Germany in February. Gulf Food is in Dubai. This is our biggest event every year. Very popular. I think we have 20 booths, so we've already sold most of those. We have a few left. That is, a wonderful show to reach the Middle East. FoodX Japan, we just listed this event. It is taking place in March. We go to FoodX Japan every year. It went up on our website either earlier this week or at the end of last week, and we've already almost sold out. So another great event. Antad in Mexico. Yeah, what can I say? Mexico's been a really hot market. We had a trade mission to Mexico this fall, and it was also very popular and successful, so that we've seen a lot of interest in that market. And we have a pavilion at IFE in London at the end of March. So just some things to think about. I know we're all focused on the end of the year, but January will be here before we know it. So all these events are filling up quickly. So if you're interested, just go to the events page on our website, sesta.org, and you can see everything that we have coming up. I also wanted to mention we have our next export readiness training is up and open for registration. So this is a training that we host via Zoom. It is done live. So you're on the call with our consultant who hosts the training, and she really walks our companies, from the how to classify your products, how to determine the right market for your products, factoring in duties and tariffs and pricing and, all kinds of factors, what's allowed in what countries, the documentation, and then actually, getting the products to the foreign market. It's a great training. It takes place over 4 days that, we space out over, it's a week apart, and they're 3 hours each day. So it's a real commitment. But it is great for companies who are ready to export but don't know all the nuts and the bolts. So I highly recommend it. We are in the middle of our fall 2022 export readiness training right now. We just finished the 3rd session last week, and it's a full training. We have 15 companies that are on the calls, and we're getting great feedback. Everybody is excited to be able to learn this information before they jump out and start going to the trade shows and trade missions and meeting foreign buyers. It's a really good way to do your homework get everything lined up, and then go out and meet buyers and start enacting your marketing strategy. So this is also available on our events page. You can register there. And that is all I wanted to say, because I think we're all excited to learn more about the Venezuelan market. So I'm going to hand it off to Jose, and I will stop sharing my screen. Jose, you didn't have a presentation, did you?
No. But
Yeah.
thank you, Danielle. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to the entire SUSTA team, Abigail, Alberto, Liliana, everybody from the USDA. I don't know if they're present in the call. We're very excited. We were able, after 21 years, to make the first GSM 102, which is the credit on a first export from the US with US products to Venezuela. But first of all, let me give you a little bit of a summary. So we are Gamma Pro is an US exporter. We are based in Florida. I am myself American, but my family also has a supermarket chain in Venezuela. It's called Gamma Supermarkets. Gamma Supermarkets has been around for 53 years. It has 28 stores and around 3,000 employees. So 3 or 4 years ago, we decided to create a company, a procurement company or a company in the US that will help us procure and acquire products for the Venezuelan market, specifically American products. And then in one event, we met Liliana and she introduced us to the entire organization, SUSTA USDA, and we started working with the program. No? That's basically a little bit of our experience. We have been able to do one export, and it was guaranteed the GSM 102 credit for the transaction for 3 months. So for us and for the client, in this case, we're the same group, but the client it's an amazing opportunity. My big advice, jumping right to the point, is to start small. So it's funny, and we were actually speaking about this ironically, in the only time in the financial field that they want to see low volume is when there's risk. And Venezuela is a risky country, right? I'm pretty sure if we were opening a bank account, it would have been different. But in this case, they actually appreciate the fact that you start small with one container. I understand it's a country that's been, it's like a black hole, and there's a lot of opportunities, and I understand the emotions and the desire to do a lot of experts, but my advice will be to start small. At least for us, it worked pretty well. Like I said, it built the confidence between the bank, the foreign bank, the US bank, and even us as exporters, that it was a transaction that could go and happen without any problem. And from there, it becomes a lot easier. That will be basically my main advice. My main advice, by the way, if you guys have any questions, feel free to send them by the text or interrupt or whatever. That's what else can I tell you? Well, in terms of Gamma Pro, we have Arlindo is my cousin. He is in Venezuela. Luis is in Miami. I am currently in Madrid. And what we do as a company is basically procure products mainly from the US and sell to our supermarket, but also other clients or other companies. On the call, we also have Maria Virginia Pinto. She is part of Gamma Supermarkets. She is the manager of new business development. So we're very excited to have her on the call. She was very helpful from the import side, collecting all the documentation and making all the arrangements. I don't want to scare you, but just to give you an idea, the letter of credit had 19 modifications just because everything really needs to match. And we basically, it's been a long time since we did a letter of credit, to be honest with you. And so that's pretty much the summary. I don't know, Arlindo, do we have time? Maybe Arlindo want to say a couple things, and also Luis, is that okay? Or yes.
Yes, I could actually jump into the conversation. So for, another thing we would like to mention is very important to have communication, because since there are too many points And throughout this process, it's very good to be aligned in all of them. So as Jose mentioned before, we did 19 iterations of the letter of credit. So it's very important to be always aligned and meeting the requirements from the USDA. Also, another thing that we wanted to mention is that the USDA system is not the friendliest one, but as SAP or Oracle, you have to just to learn. I mean, like after practicing and practicing, you'll have. Like we believe that the hardest part is to do it at the first time. After you do the first time, it's always going to be easier, and it's just repeating the process for the future. But what did help us very much, it was the USDA team. They were very helpful for us. They did help us throughout the whole process. When we had questions, we did calls, meetings, and I don't know if the other things that, yeah, I don't know.
I have a question for Gamma that you guys can maybe speak to. Can you talk a bit about the retail market? I know Gamma Supermarkets is growing. You're opening new locations in Venezuela. You know, when you're working with an exporter or a new product, what are the types of things that you see Venezuelan consumers wanting? Do you expect marketing support, for example, from an exporter? Just curious if you can talk to, you're opening new locations. So clearly something is going well in Venezuela.
Yeah, Arlindo, my cousin, is in Venezuela. Arlindo, if you wanna, sure.
Hello.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for your time. I think this is a wonderful opportunity. And just to give you a brief example or summary about the Venezuelan situation, Venezuela, the politics and the economics have gone in the past decades in the same route. Now they're trying to do in different ways. So the economics and the politics, they're not mixing a lot. It's hard to do business in Venezuela, and of course to import products from the US or other parts of the world. There was a point where Venezuela was left alone because nobody wanted to do business with Venezuela. It was a very challenged position for Venezuela, but there's a lot of myths. And the ideal situation is to contrast those myths with what is the reality and the opportunities that the USDA and the US offers to Venezuela are amazing opportunities. In Venezuela, the appreciation for the US products is wonderful. There has been in the last 2 years in Venezuela, there has been a development because we were in a pretty bad situation 2 decades ago. So a little of progress is huge progress in Venezuela. So I think now in Gamma, we have been with more than 53 years old. We have been characterized by innovating in the market. We are expanding in our presence in Venezuela, especially in Caracas. That's our main target. We're opening store, as Abigail mentioned. And the idea to just not open the stores is just to provide the experience and the customer experience by introducing new products. So that's what we're targeting. Maria Virginia is our manager for these new developments and business units. We are working together with Gamma Pro to develop those areas in which we can innovate and impact in Venezuela. The phenomenon, I'm not sure if you have heard, but the phenomenon of bodegons, that those luxury small stores that are in Venezuela have grew a lot. And those basically what they bring or they offer to the consumers are those items that you never thought you could find in Venezuela. And so the idea of innovating and doing the GSM 102 is you not only protect the business, you impact the communities, but you also offer the credits that for the importer are amazing. And it's something that in Venezuela, there has not been in so many years, that just to have that opportunity, it's wonderful.
And Abigail, if you, I wanted to add as well, one thing that is very important about the Venezuelan market is that they see the American product as quality, and it has a very high reputation. I will even say in some cases higher than any gourmet products from Europe. The Venezuelan market market sees the American product as a very, very good quality one, and it has a lot of good reputation. And answering your point about the marketing, yes, of course, some of the local importers want to see some incentives. Sometimes it might not be ads or something like that, but perhaps certain products for free so people can try it. Because remember something, it's a country that has not seen American products for a long time. So if you are going to import, I don't know, milk or something like that, it's very important that you provide a certain amount, 1, 2, 3 pallets, I don't know, depending on your agreement, to test. So you can show individuals in Venezuela and the Venezuelan market the quality of the product in the US that now it's available in Venezuela.
And also to add what Jose is saying, the US stamp impacts in the consumer as pricey or expensive and quality. So it surpasses the European standards. So that's good thing. But in the other way, Venezuela economy, it's very small. The consumer, the purchasing power in the consumers is not as big as in other countries in South America or in the rest of the world. So it's important to be very, very precise with the pricing that from the exports, the imports, and the retails that they offer to the consumers, because that will impact in a positive way or in a completely negative way. So that's a good thing to have in mind when you're evaluating a product or to bring to Venezuela, to import it to Venezuela.
Great. We have a few questions that have come in. One is, how do we know that the company in Venezuela does not have restrictions or can be a legal liability?
Well, obviously in our case it was a little bit easier because it was our same family, but I will say look at the trajectory, ask questions. I mean, if it's a company that's been around, we are one supermarket chain. There's another 4 that have been around for 50 years. So I will say if your client is a distributor there or you're going directly to the retail, ask how long have they been in business. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but it's a very important check mark. You know, if it's a company that's been around even for 30 years or something like that, is good. It's a good sign. I will base it basically on that. I mean, and then go by the rules or the publications of the U.S. government in terms of liabilities or sanctions that a specific person might have. I don't know if I know banks do something like OFAC, but I don't know if the USDA provides that or not, or if there's any website where you can. Maybe that's another tool, but.
Yeah, and I'll just add, companies are more than welcome to reach out to our office. We work very closely with OFAC, the Office of Foreign Assets Control. We can direct you to resources of any company that's on any sort of list that would, pose additional liabilities or concerns with sanctions. We'll talk about sanctions and how U.S. ag and food products are completely exempted from those in the next presentation. But we are a resource to help with that. We get questions like that a lot. We can't do all the due diligence for you, but we're happy to direct you to resources that the U.S. government has. And I think just like any market, we highly suggest due diligence. And I think like Jose was saying, the typical things that you would look for in an importer, history, are they working with any other U.S. exporters now? We really encourage companies to conduct that business due diligence.
Great. Another question, what kind of products are you currently importing from the U.S.?
So we started with apples. So a container of apples from Washington State, Red Delicious, Granny Smith, Royal Gala, and oh my God, I forget the other one, the green apple, the yellow apple. But so 4 varieties. We did a mix. So yeah, the golden, right? Okay. So we did 4 varieties in a container. That's when I was telling at the beginning, start small. We did not only one container only, but also inside that container 4 varieties, just to diversify the risk of any other. And even banks feel comfortable when you reach out to the local U.S. bank. Even explaining these little things made the bank feel more comfortable, because like, listen, we normally do 1 variety, we're going to be doing 4 to diversify risk. I mean, it's a long trip. In this case was imagine Seattle to La Guaira, it was 60 days transit time. But apples are stored for 12 months in freezers and not freezers, but the refrigeration systems in Washington. So they lasted. They were great. The product had very low waste, like almost minimal. The first time I had a little bit like a 2%, but then almost zero. So it was amazing. It's something that you don't normally see because other importers are doing a product that's a lower quality, you know.
Jose, that was what you imported through the credit guarantee program. Outside of
Yes.
that, I know you're importing other US products. What kinds of products do you typically try to get from the US or import outside of the program we did with you?
Okay, so besides from that, we do a lot of products that support our operation that we do not. The apples was the first product that we put on the shelf, just because we started first with what we call procurement division. Procurement is everything you buy, but you do not sell. I mean, I have a lot of examples. There's a company, ThinkSense. They produce gloves, neutral gloves for our operations. We actually, Gamma Pro has representation of that American brand in Venezuela. That's one of the products we do. Bufan caps for our production team. We're looking at a film wrap for the pallet that we send as well. And also we have another successful export what has been in the technology area. Since we're opening new stores, you need the cashiers from Toshiba, the Zebra scanners, and all that. We basically been doing that on the technology area.
The same person asked if you ever do any frozen meats or other frozen products from the US, like fruits, beef, pork, chicken, seafood, anything like that.
We haven't done frozen. We are very interested in doing meat. There was something, and maybe Alberto can remind me, at the time that we cannot do meat because of a certain, the person on the US Meat Export Association told us that at that specific time, we could not export meat specifically. We could do poultry, turkey, but I don't know, Alberto, I'm sorry to throw you into it, but I think you were the expert, right? What's the
Yeah.
reason why we cannot do
Yeah,
meats?
we can export poultry, including chicken and turkey, and we can export pork. But there is a sanitary limitation with beef right now.
Sanitary, exactly. So that was what it was. But yeah, we haven't done it. We want to do it, and we'll let you know if we do it, how it goes. Feel free to reach out and have our contact if you have any questions, and we're here.
Also to add what Jose is saying, we're very interested not only in the frozen products, because that's an area or a category that we're looking into it, but also fruits and vegetables, because as a supermarket chain, that's our core business. So anything related to fruit and vegetables are a great opportunity for us, and we want to bring those products and that are unique, and different to make the differentiation in Venezuela.
Yeah, I know. So I know for US produce companies, for instance, Canada, we have opposite growing seasons. So, we can provide products when they can't grow them. So what kind of things does Venezuela grow, or where might you be interested in US products in terms of types of produce?
Wow, that's a hard question there. But for example, things that we can see, because remember, one of the important facts here is with international shipping costs so high, if you have a product essentially that's on the East Coast, especially Susta, that area, it's an amazing opportunity because the container is going to be a lot cheaper than if you were to bring it from I don't know, Spain or Portugal or any other country. So canned fruits, probably it's a good idea because they last. Just to take it test, we're kind of moving forward towards that. There are some products that do not have representation in Venezuela, brands, like brand products, but more like in the child treatment for like, you know, diapers and all that, those type of things that were brands that were there before. And now, you know, we want to bring them back. So I will basically, in terms of products, I will go with good location. I know we did apples from far away, but the apples from Washington State are the best. I mean, that's no question about that, and it was worth it. And not even go by product, but go by the brand. Try to find out if it was a brand that was well known there, if it has good reputation in the area, in all countries of Latin America. I think that's those two catalysts are key.
Okay. Just a few more questions. Oh, lots of more questions for you. What other products are covered under the credit guarantee program? And Abby, I don't know if that's more for you or if that's Jose.
I can speak to that. Any product can go under the U.S. Export Guarantee Program as long as it's a U.S. produced product. Typically, that program has historically been used for large-scale commodities like soybeans, like corn. But with, like Emma said, we are actually using it for more consumer-oriented products like the apple shipment, and working more directly with a supermarket as opposed to a more traditional importer. And so any U.S. product is eligible under that program.
Great. And is there any interest for healthy products like sugar-free, gluten-free, diabetic-friendly, not frozen, but shelf-stable? You know, like, is it worth a higher cost, and is there interest in that?
Definitely. We were actually talking about that. Speaking about that, is the gluten-free products, 100% sugar-free, healthy products. We see that as a trend in the market right now, especially what my cousin was saying before, the bodega small shops that are around the country, and I'm speaking about the competition, but whatever. They brought a lot of these imported products, so the consumer has been able to identify and see them and understand that there's coconut water that has a very high nutrition value, and they're starting to taste this healthy and gluten-free products. I see that as an opportunity, definitely.
Okay, great. A lot of questions are coming across about specific products. Would it be possible, just in the interest of time, that maybe we would end up getting either Jose's contact, or maybe we could get these questions to Jose to directly answer? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Great.
Share our contact, and we'll answer the questions and everything. No problem. Yeah.
Perfect. Yep. I'll reach out to everybody after the webinar with the recording, the presentations, and contact information. And just as we close out, a couple of people did ask, I think maybe they joined late, how many stores you have and where, roughly?
Okay, so we are located only on the capital region, which ironically has been great for all these years of uncertainty and instability, because when you have a country where 9% is the daily inflation, not the year one, the daily, it's better to be small and concentrated. So we're only in the capital region. We have 25 going to 28 stores. And what was the other question? Yeah, location and the time, right? And the source, yeah.
Sorry, I was muted. Number of stores.
So we have 25 and we're growing to 28.
Great, wonderful. All right.
And also to add, we have an e-commerce platform that was developed years ago. So that's has been a very huge opportunity, not only for the consumers, but also B2B. So a lot of companies, institutions that need to buy for their employees, they can go directly to us. So that's a huge channel of sales in our supermarket. And as we mentioned before, now that it's this progress in Venezuela, there's a plan of expansion in Venezuela and in Caracas region. So we're doing a hard job trying to do it the right thing and trying to impact in a positive way also our stores and the products that we bring to the consumer. So as for now, we have the stores that Jose mentioned, but for the next year, we're going to have more openings, hopefully. So it will be great opportunity.
Great, wonderful. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that, in case companies didn't know, through SUSTA's cost share program, I know Jose had mentioned that doing sampling and things like that would beneficial. So companies can apply to SUSTA for 50% reimbursement of sampling in groceries, any advertising, so once you have distribution or, you're shipping products to a market, if you want to support it with any advertising, sampling, social media, whatever it is, that through our cost share program, companies can get 50% reimbursement on that. So we will end with that and say thank you to everybody who came from GAMA. It was wonderful to have you and learn more about importing the retail products from the US. So we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, and now we are going to hear from Abby and Adalberto. They are with the FAS office in Venezuela, and I think Adalberto is going to share his screen, and we'll get started. Great. And then we'll take questions at the end of their presentation as well. All right, perfect.
Perfect, Adal, we can see it. And you're on mute, by the way, Adal.
Okay, now I hear. Okay, so you're gonna start, Abby.
Great. Well, my name is Abby Mackey. I am one of 3 American officers here in Embassy Bogota. We cover from here Venezuela, and we have 3 fantastic locally employed staff who are actually still based in Venezuela doing work there. And so we can go to the next screen. I just wanted to kick it off, and Adal, who's the real expert, is going to take over, but with just some common myths we hear about the Venezuelan market. One is that U.S. companies cannot export agricultural products to Venezuela. That is incorrect. So U.S. sanctions exempt any transaction related to the export of agricultural and food products. So last year alone, the United States exported $631 million of agricultural products to Venezuela. So that market is open. The second myth we hear is that, we as an office no longer support U.S. companies when it comes to Venezuela. And so I think our staff in Venezuela proved that wrong. We still have 3 fantastic staff who are working day in and day out, who have really strong connections with, the U.S. industry there. We produce a lot of market intelligence reporting, which Adal will talk about. And USDA can still issue export certificates. Where we're very restricted is that we cannot interact with the current regime in place in power, the Maduro regime. So we cannot talk to our counterparts, for example, like a port authority. We don't interact with them at all. But, even when there have been stuck shipments, we've been able to work with the private sector exclusively to try to find a way to move those shipments forward. And then finally, we hear a lot, well, Venezuela is barely importing products because of its economic collapse, while Venezuela continues to be a unique market with unique risks and has, is still going through an economic recession. From January to July 22 alone, they actually imported over $1.7 billion of agricultural products, and this is up 26% compared to 2021. So we're seeing growing market opportunities. I think one of the goals here today is to make sure that U.S. companies are prepared and looking at this market and not overlooking it and knowing what opportunities exist. So I'm gonna let Adal take it from here.
Okay, perfect. I am Adalberto Perez, agricultural specialist of USDA Foreign Agricultural Service in Venezuela. And my portfolio includes basically the animal industry, trade analysis, and regulatory issues, and sanitary and phytosanitary issues. Just to say that Venezuela was once a huge agricultural importer, peaking at $9 billion in 2013. And since the economic crisis that began in 2015, imports declined significantly. But since 2019, the Venezuelan regime has been implementing an economic liberalization policy, and that policy has lifted price controls and import restrictions on raw materials, inputs, and consumer products. And actually, during 2021, the Venezuelan economy is stabilized as a result of the tacit economic liberalization. Agricultural imports began to recover in 2020 after reaching an all-time low in 2019, and they grew actually 40% in 2020 and 33% in 2021. Actually, those imports have played an important role in the recovery of food availability. And you maybe you don't know this. In 2021, the United States was the second most important supplier of food and agricultural products to Venezuela in terms of value, and the main supplier in terms of volume. Since 2019, U.S. agricultural export to Venezuela have grown more than 250%. And in 2022, they have grown 32%. Because of this, the Venezuelan market is now an emerging opportunity for US exporters. As Abby mentioned, FAST keeps its team in Venezuela, gathering market intelligence and trends, and assisting and promoting US exports. Part of this work translates into publicly available market reports that provide the most relevant and accurate information on the Venezuelan market, particularly the reports on how to export to Venezuela and the reports on the market situation. Just a quick facts on Venezuela. Venezuela currently has a population of 27 million people, and although its economy has lost more than 80% of GDP, it has already begun to recover. And I want to emphasize that there is still an important portion of the population with good purchasing power. We estimate that in about 10 to 15%, about 4 million people that still have very good purchasing power. In 2022, the economy is expected to grow by 8 to 10%, and a similar growth is expected for the next year. This year, the country left its episode of hyperinflation, and agricultural imports have grown by more than 90% since 2019. All this has allowed for a recovery in food consumption. As I mentioned earlier, Venezuela was one huge agricultural importer, peaking 9 billion 10 years ago. That year, in 2013, U.S. agricultural export amounted to $1.7 billion. The agricultural imports began to recover in 2020, and they grew 39% in 2020 and 37% in 2021. In 2021, the major suppliers by value were Brazil, United States, and Turkey. And when we compare market share by volume, right now the United States is the largest supplier of agricultural and food products to Venezuela with 35% of the market. In 2021, Venezuelan agricultural imports totaled 2.5 billion, up 37% compared to 2020. And the product category that grew the most was consumer-oriented products, reaching $743 million that year. But still, intermediate products still make up the largest category of import. The most imported products during 2021 were wheat and wheat products, soybeans and soybean products, corn, sugar, rice, millet grains, dairy products, prepared foods, vegetable oils, and meat products. Those 10 products accounted for more than 80% of Venezuelan agricultural imports. In 2021, the Venezuelan agricultural imports by product category were $785 million in bulk products, which represent 31% of the total, and the market share of the United States in that category is 40%. The intermediate products amounted to 956 million, representing 38% of the total, and the US market share is 23% in that category. And lastly, consumer products amounted to 748 million, representing 30% of the total, and the US market share is 13% in that category. This year, from January to July, Venezuelan agricultural imports are up 25%. By volume, the increase is about 10%. This year, the major suppliers by value are Brazil with 33% of the market, the United States with 25% of the market, and Turkey with 8% of the market. This year, the United States has been the largest supplier of agricultural and food products by volume, with 36% market share. And this year, agricultural imports are projected to $2.9 billion, growing 18% from the last year. This year, the top 10 imported products are soybean oil, corn, soybean meal, wheat, bakery, cereals, and pasta, dairy products, sugars, and milk grains. Of these products, the United States has a significant market share only in soybean oil with 35%, corn with 60%, wheat with 13.7%, and food preparation with almost 50%. You have to know that in the last 12 months, import of consumer products have increased by 15%, and the most relevant products have been bakery products, cereals and pasta, dairy products, food preparation, and meat products. We're talking about imports from all over the world in this case. But what are the products with the most export potential to Venezuela? Basically, in the bulk category, we have corn, rice, wheat, and soybeans. In the intermediate category, the products with the most export potential are soybean meal, soybean oil, and cattle and goat genetics. In the case of consumer products, basically all consumer products that are available in the United States have a very good export potential to Venezuela. But here we have some relevant factors of the Venezuelan market. First, as Jose mentioned earlier, the U.S. Food products and suppliers have an excellent reputation in the Venezuelan market. Another advantage is that we are very close to the U.S. and the time that takes to send a shipment to Venezuela is basically a week. Also, we need to take advantage of the growing exposure popularity of fish products in Venezuela. There is very low tariff and minimal technical barriers, and Venezuela is a relevant market for the USDA, and several USDA cooperators are still working and active in the Venezuelan market. In this case, like SUSTA. But there are some negative factors or negative relevant factors. Basically, there are no large distributors of American products in Venezuela. Maybe Gamma will be one, and the credit availability for importers is very low. Also, it's still more or less the economy is still unstable, but actually we have very low rate of inflation compared with 5 years ago, and basically you have to take in account those factors when you're considering to export to Venezuela. But there is a very modern retail sector in Venezuela. In the slide, you can see what considered the top traditional retailers in Venezuela, which one of them is Gama. But there are another kind of retailers that are growing in the Venezuelan market, particularly pharmacies that are combining the pharmacy business with the retail business, just like any CVS or Walgreens in the US. The Venezuelan retail business are on par with the counterparts in the rest of Latin America, like Colombia or maybe Brazil, in terms of business model, technology, and marketing techniques. And some of them are importing directly from the US. And this is a photo of American products in Venezuelan supermarket. The American products are increasingly present in the Venezuelan market, where they are available, and I want to emphasize this, are available at competitive prices. Many Venezuelans with good purchasing power already know about these products, but they didn't have available in Venezuela. Now they are already in their favorite supermarket, and actually it's possible that some of your products or products that you represent are already sold in Venezuela without you even knowing. So there are some factors that you need to consider on consumer products in Venezuela. First, the labeling must be in Spanish, but the stickers are accepted on a temporary basis. All food products must be officially registered, and temporary registration are accepted. Some products require import permits or sanitary permits, and on the number side, the general tariff is 20%. The value-added tax is 16%, and a custom fee of 1%. Some products or commodities are not maybe eligible for tariffs or tax preference. Generally, the Venezuelan importer is responsible for regulatory tariff and taxation matters. More information on all that is available in the FAIRS report and the exporter guide that you can find in the USDA FAST site. We have some tips for exporters. First, besides the recommendation that Jose gave us of starting small, this is highly recommended work with local partners or importers to comply with regulations and to have a clearer understanding of the market. Also, we can recommend investing in market intelligence. There are many economic consulting firms in Venezuela, and also you can read to industry association. Also, I want to reiterate that including tariff and taxes, many US products are price competitive in the Venezuelan market. Basically, the US products are well known in Venezuela, and their exposure and availability have increased significantly since 2019, and we need to take advantage of that. Also, the best channel for reaching consumer with good purchasing power are supermarket chains. Also, exporters can contact importers through the Venezuelan Supermarket Association, the Venezuelan Food Industry Chamber, and the Venezuelan American Chamber of Commerce. Many retailers are willing to work with U.S. Suppliers in terms of marketing materials for U.S. brands, and also, I mean, there is an opportunity there to make promotion of American products. So USDA have available programs for Venezuela, and Abby can talk about that.
Yes, this is our last slide. We just wanted to give you a sense of how we continue to support this market. So I think we've talked about the Credit Export Guarantee Program. You can find more information about GSM 102 on our website. It is eligible for Venezuela. We also offer other types of exporter assistance, like the reporting we were talking about. We just released our first updated exporter guide since 2017 for Venezuela. So that is available now for 2022. We also work with trade leads. You know, we do hear from supermarkets like Gamma and others of certain products that they're looking for. So we do reach out to cooperators on that. We support a lot of Venezuela companies to go to trade shows in the US. There are no trade shows happening in Venezuela that we work with, but we also, you know, nearby in Colombia, we also support those, and they tend to have a lot of Venezuelan participants. And UES, the Unified Export Strategy funding for cooperators, is eligible in Venezuela. We have a handful of cooperators who use that funding there. We still do not recommend travel to Venezuela for any US citizen. We continue to follow State Department's protocols, but I know a lot of US cooperators and companies work with local consultants in the area to do business there. And finally, we continue to do marketing. We actually, so what you're seeing on the right, if those of you who don't recognize him, that is Ambassador Jimmy Story. He is the current U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela. He is based out of our U.S. Embassy here in Bogota. He very nicely agreed to do with us about a month ago a video for the U.S. Dry Bean Council on making Venezuelan arepas using U.S. ingredients, including U.S. black beans, U.S. pork, U.S. rice, for example. And so he's working with this amazing chef that we found who's actually from Venezuela and living in Bogota. She's featured here, and that video should be coming out soon. So we thank U.S. Driving Council for their support with that. And we continue to run Sabor USA. We use a lot of the Sabor USA resources that we produce in Colombia for Venezuela. We post them on the U.S. Embassy Venezuela website. They always gain a lot of traction there, and they're very popular. So we also provide that type of marketing support and would love to do more promotions with companies that are interested. And thank you all. And we're happy to take any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. It's informative to get that kind of high-level overview of the market and how imports are growing and the U.S., where the U.S. plays a part in that. So if anybody has questions for Abby or Adalberto, or the DeGama folks are still on the phone as well, please put them in the Q&A and we will get to those. And if not, then I will be emailing everybody this afternoon, like I said, with the recording of the webinar, the presentations, and everybody's contact info. We're excited about this market, very happy that it's really opening back up and that we're seeing imports flow into Venezuela, and you know, happy to support our companies that are interested, particularly with our cost share program, as I mentioned, the 50% reimbursement of your promotions and marketing into the market. And, you know, I'll send out that exporter guide as well, Abby. That is great information. We really rely on those. So I know
I've seen a couple of questions about product registration. Adal, can you take that? How long does registering a new product typically take? And, you know, is there a fee associated with that?
Yes, basically, we know that the process could take up to 3 months, but could take less if you have a person in Venezuela which knows how are the regulations in Venezuela. But usually that kind of matters it's the imported who do it in Venezuela.
Sorry, can I add something to that? One important thing for the registration, just so you know, is the samples, and make sure it depends and it changes depending on the product and the industry or type of product. The Venezuelan government will ask you for X amount of samples just because they want to do some testings and the other doesn't want. So make sure if you're going to do it, because otherwise you waste the shipping and then you have to ship more. Yeah, so sorry.
And also all the information you can find it in the FAIRS report.
Okay. I'll send both of those reports in my email as well. Great. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. This was really informative and interesting, and we really appreciate you all being on the call today. And yeah, we look forward to working with you.
Okay.
And thank you to SESTA for having us. We really appreciate it and highlighting, what is a more non-traditional market and a growing market. So we really thank your support with this and for all your organization and for the companies that joined us today. We'll send out our contact information and we're here to support you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.